The biting winter wind howled through the streets of Chicago as Daniel Carter pulled his coat tighter around his body. He had built an empire, a multi-million-dollar real estate firm that bore his name, a symbol of his relentless ambition. But tonight, as he strode past a row of shivering homeless men huddled under a bridge, he felt an unfamiliar pang in his chest. He had walked this route 1,000 times before, never once stopping. Yet tonight, something made him slow down. One man, wrapped in a tattered army jacket, caught Daniel's attention. His face, weathered by time and hardship, held a quiet dignity. Their eyes met. For the briefest moment, Daniel saw something in the man's gaze, a reflection of himself. The man nodded slightly, as if recognizing him, then looked away, resuming his futile attempt to keep warm. Daniel shook his head, forcing himself to move on. He had a gala to attend, a room full of wealthy investors waiting for him. He couldn't afford distractions. At the hotel ballroom, chandeliers cast a golden glow over a crowd dressed in tailored suits and designer gowns. The air buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses. Daniel moved through the sea of wealth with ease, making deals, shaking hands, securing his company's future. But his mind kept drifting back to that man under the bridge. "Daniel, are you even listening?" His business partner, Victor, nudged him. "We just closed the Miller deal." Daniel forced a smile. "That's great news. Then why do you look like someone stole your wallet?" Victor chuckled, sipping his whiskey. Daniel exhaled. "Nothing. Just, have you ever wondered if we're doing enough?" Victor raised an eyebrow. "Enough for what?" "For anyone but ourselves." Victor smirked. "You built this company from the ground up. You earned every dollar. No one handed you anything. Don't let guilt make you soft." Daniel nodded, but the weight in his chest didn't lift. That night, he lay awake in his penthouse overlooking the glittering city. The success he had once chased with every fiber of his being now felt hollow. The next morning, he found himself back under that bridge. The man in the army jacket was still there, rubbing his hands together for warmth. Daniel hesitated before stepping forward. "Hey." The man looked up, eyes cautious but alert. Daniel cleared his throat. "Would you like a coffee?" The man studied him, then nodded. "That'd be nice." They walked in silence to a small diner. Once inside, the man removed his gloves, his hands rough and calloused. "What's your name?" Daniel asked. "James," the man said. "James Holloway." Daniel extended his hand. "Daniel Carter." James let out a soft chuckle. "I know who you are." Surprised, Daniel asked, "You do?" James nodded. "I used to work construction. Built some of those high-rises your company owns." He took a sip of coffee. "Lost my job when my wife got sick. Medical bills took everything. Then she passed, and I couldn't keep up with the rent." Daniel swallowed hard. He had spent his life chasing more money, more power, while people like James had lost everything in an instant. "You ever try to get back on your feet?" Daniel asked. James shrugged. "Tried. But once you fall this far, it's like quicksand." For the first time in his life, Daniel saw wealth for what it was, a tool. He had spent decades hoarding it, building walls to keep others out. But what if he used it to build something else? That thought refused to leave him. The following week, Daniel made a decision that stunned everyone around him. He withdrew millions from his personal fortune and purchased an abandoned building downtown. But instead of turning it into another luxury development, he transformed it into a shelter. A place where people like James could find not just a bed, but job training, counseling, and a second chance. His board of directors called him reckless. The media called him radical. But when James walked into that building months later, freshly shaved, dressed in clean clothes, and holding the keys to his new apartment, Daniel knew he had done the right thing. "Why me?" James asked, voice thick with emotion. Daniel smiled. Because I had the wealth to share. And for the first time in his life, he felt truly rich.